Everyone says Rise of the Beast was either the best Transformers movie since the original, or a chaotic disaster. Yeah, I know, subtle debate, right? But here's the thing, what if both sides are right?
Let them know who you are.
In this video you'll see why Optimus Prime's leadership arc mattered, how Beast Wars nostalgia divided old and new fans, and how the action finally became readable instead of Bayhem overload. Set in 1994, the film deliberately crashes Beast Wars era characters into Autobots, which instantly makes the tone feel different. By minute 5, I'll show the exact moment Prime's choices hand control to a human, and why that was intentional. And that leadership shift might be the real place this divide begins. Yep, this is where things get spicy. Optimus Prime doesn't come across here as the flawless figurehead fans are used to, and that's where the real divide starts.
Preserve the key, no matter the cost.
For years, he's been the unshakable icon of the series, the noble voice, the moral compass, basically the warrior philosopher of the Autobots.
Yes, you can.
But in Rise of the Beasts, the script deliberately pulls that image apart. Instead of an untouchable commander, we see a Prime who's defensive, frustrated, and, at key points, unsure of himself. That gamble defines the movie's arc, and it's the first thing that pushed audiences into opposing camps. I mean, some fans loved it, some looked like they just ate a lemon. You get one side of the fandom who embraced it. They saw Prime's cracks, his distrust of Earth, his sharpness with the team, his hesitation with the transwarp key decision, and read them as real character growth.
We gotta hurry! It's about to go down on guard.
For once, Optimus wasn't standing above the chaos with a perfect plan. He was trying to navigate loss and survival like everyone else. A lot of fans found relatable humanity in that. But then there's the other side, the ones who argue this version is inconsistent, almost unrecognizable.
Unicron will prevail.
As the Daily Saber review put it, he can come off like an old-school drill sergeant one moment, and a hesitant leader the next. That clash of tones left some viewers frustrated, because they couldn't pin down which version of Prime they were meant to connect with. The story itself makes this contrast unavoidable. Take the Peru sequence. Prime barks at his soldiers with the cold urgency of a general trying to regain control.
I love your fire, Prime, but you're going to die on this speck of dust.
But when Noah proposes destroying the transwarp key to stop Unicron, Prime freezes. It's Noah, the human who makes the decisive move, hammering at the key while Mirage backs him up. That kind of scene doesn't just show Prime uncertain, it creates a plot space for the humans to matter. Elena has her own pivotal moment too, when she cracks the temple's coded markings and saves the Autobots from being misled. These turning points don't erase Prime's authority, but they mean Noah and Elena aren't just background players anymore. His hesitation gives them room to act with consequence. In a way the Bay-era human characters almost never could, and that's exactly where critics split. Some felt the uneven tone, Prime oscillating between hard-nosed commander and reluctant, doubtful hero, bogged down the pacing. Was he supposed to be the inspirational centre of the team or another flawed fighter? Others argued that this tension injected more life into the film than a straight repeat of the Space Moses routine. In their eyes, Prime struggling with leadership gave the story a soul, especially stacked against the old films where robot battles often looked like pro wrestling matches with no emotional core.
He was mine.
The bigger point is, this leadership crisis wasn't an accident. The filmmakers chose to risk messing with sacred territory, and that choice ignited conversations in the fandom that wouldn't exist if Prime had stayed ironclad. Love it or hate it, the decision pushed the franchise into new territory, where the Autobots' leader isn't a static icon, but a flawed character forced to evolve. That friction is what made people argue online, and the intensity of those debates proves this entry couldn't be written off as business as usual. So here's the million-dollar question. Was that gamble bold enough to hold up against the other big card the movie played? the heavy streak of 90s nostalgia? Because once you set aside Prime's crisis, the next major battlefield wasn't leadership at all, it was memory. And yeah, there's more retro in this movie than my Spotify playlist. When people talk about Rise of the Beasts feeling messy, a lot of that comes down to how it plays the nostalgia game. The film doesn't just tip its hat to one era, it runs two playbooks at once. First, the 1994 setting was built out with period details and a hip-hop soundtrack that pulled from acts like A Tribe Called Quest. Critics noted this gave the film a fun retro vibe and instantly separated it from Michael Bay's glossy modern-day approach. Second, it dropped the Maximals from Beast Wars into a live-action movie for the first time. Those were two giant nostalgia signals directed at different audiences, and instead of blending neatly, they often clashed. That's why the response split so quickly. Fans tied to Bay's films felt like Paramount had jammed different continuities into the same bucket, with callbacks that didn't totally connect. Beast Wars loyalists, on the other hand, saw their childhood favourites finally make the leap to the big screen, and didn't care that the timelines contradicted each other. Continuity. Never heard of her. Paramount's refusal to spell out whether the film is a prequel, reboot, or soft reset only kept the arguments alive. Instead of clearing things up, it left fans debating how these nostalgia layers are meant to fit together, or if they ever should. Even the music choices became fuel for division. On the one hand, the 90s hip-hop soundscape was praised for giving the movie energy and style. On the other, critics flagged a few anachronisms, tracks included that weren't actually out in 1994. For some, that felt like laziness. For others, it was proof that accuracy wasn't the point. The movie wanted to capture the feeling of 90s culture, not serve as a strict history lesson. To one group, the inaccuracies were distracting. To another, the mix of tracks was exactly the kind of vibe the film promised.
There is a darkness coming.
The Maximals tell the same story of divide. Visually, they were striking. Nobody can deny that seeing a robotic gorilla like Optimus Prime charging into battle was impressive. But once the thrill of their reveal wore off, critics pointed out how little most of them actually contributed. Rhinox didn't even get spoken lines in the theatrical cut, which underlined how much of their role was window dressing rather than real narrative weight. Instead of being core players, the Maximals often felt like nostalgic cameos decorated onto an Autobot and human story. For longtime fans of Beast Wars, that underuse stung, but nostalgia wasn't the whole picture. Many critics noted that Mirage, voiced by Pete Davidson, emerged as one of the strongest parts of the film. His personality was lighter, more distinctive, and far sharper than most Autobots had shown in years. That gave the human characters more space to bounce off him, instead of just orbiting around Optimus. And when it came to the action scenes, reviewers repeatedly said they were more readable than the chaotic battles in Bay's films. You could track who was fighting who, and why it mattered, without it dissolving into noise.
Don't mess with my boy!
That clarity showed the filmmakers weren't careless. They guided the chaos rather than letting it swallow the story. In the end, that tension between competing signals, 90s aesthetics blasted across the soundtrack, Beast Wars elements folded into a different franchise DNA, big visual upgrades but thin development, left audiences talking long after the credits. It wasn't just a nostalgia dump, it was a deliberate choice to be contradictory. Some viewers read that as sloppy, others saw it as a feature, not a bug. The real advantage of all this chaos is that it lodged itself in people's heads instead of fading away. And to show you what I mean, in the next beat, I'll break down one Mirage moment that proves how the movie turned simple comic relief into something with real payoff. Maybe the real point is that the chaos was the reset. Rise of the Beast split the fandom on purpose, showing a shakier Optimus, tossing in Beast Wars nostalgia against a 90s backdrop, and proving fights could finally be followed, even if the Maximals barely mattered. Critics like Christy Lemire even admitted it was better than much of the franchise, while still flagging its flaws. So now it's your turn. Did Optimus's rougher edge improve the story, or ruin him? And was that 90s vibe clever or sloppy? Drop your hot take below.